Come look at this.
Legendary helper here.
AKA, they canceled him. AKA, Mr. Persona non grata. Here in full effect.
With a little help. Whether you ask for it or not, it's cool. Thank me later. Now, if you think I'm bullshit, just look up the case on the screen.
423 CV 01013, USDC, Southern District of Texas, Houston Division. Now in this video, I am going to shed light on the retaliatory aspects of the organized harassment apparatus down here in South Florida that has been covertly harassing me, trying to destroy my life, with a sense of depraved indifference that could possibly make one feel that state-sanctioned torture is the new normal. Since these things continue to happen just steadfastly, nonstop, I figure the best course of action is to just record it and capture it, copyright it, and then when the time is right, come back and go after the entities or individuals that have been involved in specific instances of subverting the law for the sake of attempting to discredit, disgrace, and to possibly destroy my reputation and character. Before I do that, though, let me outline the ways in which gang stalking, organized harassment, controlled schizophrenia, what have you, takes place based off of what I've seen. At its very core, it's all about gaslighting and the creation of various distractions that could possibly disorient you, get you to feel down about yourself, feel unmotivated, feel as if you're unworthy, angry, and overall discouraged. Take a moment to look at the picture. It explains it all. As you can see, there's a mirror, smoke, a crowd gathered looking at it, and then the hands up top controlling that whole dynamic. As you can see, for me, I'm looking the other way, but stating that, please pardon my back. Now, when it comes to specifics as to what the organized harassment apparatus is doing out there on the streets, you have example number one, blinkering, or in layman's terms, bright car headlight harassment. Take some time to look at the picture, and you'll understand precisely what I'm trying to convey. The second organized harassment, controlled schizophrenia, gang stalking tactic that has been used against me is car exhaust noise harassment. Now, this is done by individuals connected to this organized harassment apparatus to make you hastily move along, to encourage, if you will, you to get up out of there, to leave, to move erratically. Now, this can get dangerous because if you move erratically out there on the roads, you can possibly get into an accident. That's why if I'll recommend anything to anybody going through this is to have a certain amount of poise. Always maintain that poise, which, to be clear, is not an easy task when you have to deal with headlight harassment, specifically one headlight harassment. There are inordinate amount of vehicles strangely on the road with one headlight working. This is a psychological psyop tactic, if you will, that has been used against me by the city of Miami or whoever else is associated with the organized harassment apparatus in South Florida, which entails Miami-Dade County as well, and the various municipalities. The fourth tactic that has been used to torture me, which, by the way, they're all illusory, but the illusory rear view mirror fear harassment tactic. And this one's pretty self-explanatory. Just take a look at the picture. The fifth torture tactic is what I like to call illusory side view mirror fear harassment. Now, this one, as well as blinkering along with rear view mirror harassment, the solution is to adjust your mirrors to the extent that you are not going to be really seeing those major headlights blinkering and flashing behind you while driving. Now, the thing about this is that it kind of lulls you into a false sense of security to a certain extent, because you're not as concerned as to what is happening behind you, which is a good lesson for life, you know, if we're talking theoretically and whatnot. But you got to always be on point, you know, and so you're being effectively inhibited from practicing a sense of vigilance, being on point, because these individuals are using this strategy. So it kind of opens you up to a scenario where something can be done to you because you were made numb to the notion of paying attention to your environment. And then you have the dark window tint fear harassment strategy, which is where there again are an inordinate amount of vehicles with extremely dark front windshields, or overall, all their mirrors are extremely dark. And you might think that this is some kind of undercover, but usually that's not the case per the research I've done. These are just individuals that have been allowed to, by the organized harassment apparatus, to have these tints. And they are notorious for making quick U-turns as you're walking. You get a quick U-turn in front of you. And again, it's to induce fear, anxiety. That's the 6th torture tactic that has been used against me. Now, the 7th is weird as These folks follow you around, sometimes several vehicles lined up, one behind the other. It doesn't matter if you're going speed limit, they're just going to ride behind you. Again, in an attempt to make you feel awkward. And this is a shaming tactic, a tacit shaming tactic. Finally, number 8 is a specific torture tactic, but it also represents the overall illusory street theater aspect of this psyop. Because really it's nothing more than theatrics. But you're perplexed that your rights are being stomped on, usually with a wink and a nod. It just doesn't make sense, because you're like, well, this is still America. But again, when you have the individuals that collude with one another to look the other way while my rights are being violated, with the expectation that they won't be held accountable because no one is going to be there to corroborate what took place, and also for me to be rendered crazy by this organized harassment initiative, so that whatever I say, it becomes almost automatically wrong or a lie or something that isn't credible. The solution that I found is to document the incidents that occurred in real life on the internet, and then legally protect it by either copywriting or trademarking some sort of media project overall that can be a conditional record, so to speak, just in case the entities that control the internet assist in shutting you down to further take away from your credibility. I'll leave the incident where it's at, and then whatever monies are lost or paid out will be added on to the damages that will be assessed later down the line, which again, I think going after the city of Miami is the smartest approach as it stands right now. But I keep alluding back to the Houston case just to show that this is a larger issue. And so I wish I could go after the larger entities or the defendants listed on the aforementioned case, but that's going to be very difficult because oftentimes these cases are thrown out of court because the powers that be aren't ready to sort of accept and deal with this problem as it stands. And hey, for most of them, it's not a problem. It's a mechanism for control. Anyway, here goes the incident that I believe to be a form of retaliation. I've been working as a rideshare driver / delivery driver throughout this whole ordeal. So all of the aspects that I mentioned to you, as far as the harassment is concerned. I've been going through it while being effective at these side gigs. And I felt, you know what, this is something that might irk them. By them, meaning the gang stalking apparatus. Because, again, the goal is to discredit me. And so the fact that I've been able to overcome all of this and still keep my rep on point and also earning some income while I ride around the city. You know, I'm from this city and I know it like the back of my hand, so I enjoy doing these kind of jobs. And my goal is to just be the best at what I'm trying to accomplish. But, again, these folks are hating, man. Straight up haters. Whoever's associated with them, they're nothing but haters, yo. Straight up. They've been trying their best to either make me get into an accident or get so frustrated that I get out of my car and wild out. That hasn't happened, but they keep pushing. So the most recent scenario in which they've colluded to try to get me off the road is by making up a scenario where they gave me a ticket, which the ticket was never given. You can look at the screen here, all the details are there. This alleged ticket was never mailed out. There's no proof of it occurring on the date that it states it occurred on the paper. I would not have let time elapse to that extent to not pay off a ticket, especially when it's a vehicle that is a leased vehicle. But out of nowhere, on August 31st, 2024, a representative for Lehman Hyundai appeared and actually had this conversation with a loved one of mine, a beloved individual. And this person, this representative from Lehman Hyundai, presented this form, as you can see, and stated that the ticket reached them as a car dealership first, so that now they're ostensibly on the bill for the amount of money that needed to be paid for the ticket, which had volumed and ballooned up to $100 and some odd, as you can see. Again, this wasn't questioned as vigorously as I would have questioned it, but because of this incident, the vehicle that is used for a form of gainful employment, being a productive member of society down here in South Florida, was towed away, and now the dealership apparently wants to assess the contract that we have. There are a couple entities I imagine that could be involved, but starting off with Miami Parking Authority, and I've seen them in action. These folks are out here being as predatory as possible. And they have relationships with various towing companies to be able to get the job. That's all it comes down to. I don't know who they are specifically, but there are individuals that work for the Miami Parking Authority that are operating at a level that is almost like a rogue cash maker. When I'm out there on the roads, man, I like to make a point that I'm out there. And shoot, I'm taking my pictures, I'm taking videos. And so I know this can create a level of hatred by certain individuals. But what I don't like is the cowardice that comes from individuals in their like little groups communicating with one another to cause harm onto another person. There's far too much of that. And it would appear that it exists at various levels of state, local, and different forms of government. And these people act with such wanton disregard that it's almost comical. Again, when these things pop up, it's either, for me, I think to myself, I'm like, man, they want me to wild out, or they want me to give up completely, and finish it off. Because again, that's what they've done to several individuals. I've mentioned Myron May. I've mentioned, Who else have I mentioned? There are various individuals I think that have been impacted by organized harassment quietly. And with me, this is what they're doing. Sort of interaction is a negative one for the most part, or some kind of slick, backhanded, manipulative approach of speaking to me, or it's someone blatantly disregarding my rights. And so it becomes a scenario where it happens so much, it kind of becomes convoluted, and there's so much that you can't parse the real incidents that truly matter versus the local cashier or the person that's, in whatever position that somehow an individual came and whispered in their ear before they meet with me to do X, Y, and Z. Again, I don't think I'm that important, man. Just to be clear. This thing, it's interesting. It has a way, if you're not careful, to make you come off like you're narcissistic, as if the world runs or centers around you. I want to be clear that I don't think that's the case. I'm just doing my thing, trying to live, trying to be successful. But these folks that are using organized harassment down here in South Florida are almost making it impossible to become successful. They've removed the motivation to try to accomplish something with your life, at least as it relates to doing it out in society, right? Like in the public, working a 9-to-5 job. The good news is that there's the internet. But increasingly, I feel like that's another avenue that is sort of being man-in-the-middled to quell dissension, and determine the winners and losers in this wonderful race, marathon. And that's the good news. It's a marathon, so we'll just keep pressing forward. And I'll make a point to not be the catalyst of any negative reaction. But these folks, they like to try to push your buttons. So again, with this letter, either the post office has failed to do what they do. And I've had issues, I think, with them because I feel like for all the letters I've sent out, they're being intercepted. They are not reaching the destinations that they should reach. A few times I've seen the post office use their vehicles to try to drive fast behind me as if they're trying to scare me some kind of way. Again, it's all theatrics, but in this incident, we have a couple individuals. The one that issued the ticket here at Miami Parking Authority, the individual that works for Lehman Hyundai, stating that he needed to come and tow the vehicle, and then the tow company. Those are the three entities that are in question. And we'll see if this is even real, because there are times when these things get tossed aside, and it's almost as if someone at the city level okayed a scenario where I can be screwed with just to try to get a rise out of me. Well, this is the most that you're going to get. All right. Anyway, let this one speak for itself on the record. Gia.
I come alive. It's your choice. You decide if you're ready. We can slide. Cause we got one night to make it last forever. I can't explain the feeling that I treasure. It seems like we were meant to be together. So let's embrace the mood, cause we ain't got no pressure. Dance with you tonight. Let's take the time is right. No matter what is on your mind, forget the past and live your life.
Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because we're still trying to be the best that we can be. We still gotta show love and help where we can. You heard? Hopefully you do the same. I'ma holler back.